And welcome to another edition of Mailbag. And like in the previous set of mailbags, I'm recording a single header for many answers that you guys have left on the channel, and there is a lot to go through this evening. So before we get going, remember these are mailbag questions and comments that you guys leave on the channel that are well worth actually sharing with the wider community. But before we start, we always go through parish notices, which are, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? Hit the subscribe icon. If you want to be notified about when videos hit the channel about things like this thing that's just off shop, which is the IDA 2400, that's the bell icon. If you like the contents of the video you're just about to watch, you know what, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the video on the YouTube algorithm. Also, leave comments down below. I do read them, I respond to them, and that's the reason why we're having this mailbag conversation now. And finally, for less than the price of a cup of coffee, consider supporting the channel by becoming a member of the TMTG community. The address is down below, as are the Instagram and Facebook tags where the normal channel notices are posted. But now back to this particular mailbag. Okay, this next item comes from Fernando Nonca. I think that's how, or Nonica, I think that's probably correctly pronounced. You know, I am the world's most useless person when it comes to pronouncing names. And he writes in response to, I think this actually wasn't from a video, actually. I think it was this wasn't actually a video, this was a message that was sent on Instagram. And it said, kind of handsome, LOL. Hey, I brought a Roland D-50. I love it how it sounds, but I'm a noob into synthesis. The PG-1000 is only for those who understand how to make new sounds right. And some people, a lot of people have said this to me about the programmers, that they're only really useful if you actually understand how to make sounds. And the answer is, how do I put this? New sounds, making new sounds is just part of the use of a programmer like the PG-1000. You can either create sounds from scratch, as in you start entering all the parameters, and the PG-1000 pretty much has a slider for every parameter you need to enter, or you can also take an existing sound and modify its tonal qualities slightly to give it the sound that you want. And to be honest, a lot of sound designers back in the day, that's kind of how they started, with somebody else's sound and just started modifying the parameters of that sound until they got something that was what they wanted to use. If you listen to a lot of 80s pop records, some 80s pop records were literally D-50 presets, but some 80s pop sounds were, you could say, oh, that's preset number 10. And then when you listen to preset number 10, it's not quite, because the person has modified it. So would I say you need to understand how to make sounds? No. Does the PG-1000 or a programmer like it allow you to learn how to make sounds? Yes. Does it help if you understand how the synthesis of the synth you're attacking works? Definitely yes. But you don't need that knowledge to dive in. Although what I would say is sometimes your results might not be what you were kind of expecting them to be until you kind of understand the whole synthesis envelope that the machine uses. Once you get that under your belt, it becomes very much easier. And I use that as a really good example with the D-Tronics DT7, because once you understand how Yamaha manipulates sounds on the DX7, you're away. I'm not sure how I pronounce this next name. Alvaro Alpizarro. Alpizarro? I think that's right. And this video is in response to how to reload the presets on your Roland D-70, a video I did way back in January 2017. And I've been threatening to do a SYSEX video about this as well, because it's not as straightforward as many other synths. In fact, the D-70 has a really quite convoluted route of reloading factory settings. Anyway, Alvaro writes, "Greetings and Happy New Year." So this was a couple of weeks ago. Will have to subscribe since I just came across a D-70 with, of course, some problem. I had some keys fixed upon assembly. I lost all my preset sounds and don't have or can't find the RAM card clone as suggested. Could I still use it strictly as a MIDI controller? As at this point, do you know if so, how? Any help welcomed. Now it's funny that you say that, because first of all, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you found us. And what I would say about the factory reset card is that when I purchased my factory reset card, there were a number of vendors on eBay who were flogging this particular factory reset card. And as you see, it's just got somebody who's written on the card in permanent bar arrow or a Sharpie or something like that. And there were a number of them floating around. However, 4 years later, you know, where we are now, 4 years later, I can't find one single card on eBay for factory resetting the D-70. So I suspect a lot of people did like I did, which was go and buy them while they were available. And as the D-70 is here, it actually is here. It's here because I'm doing a video on the forgotten synths, Roland synths, and the D-70 is one of those definitely forgotten synths. I will actually go through the whole SYSEX mechanism, because I've said it's not as easy as it looks as it is. And the last time I did this, it did the whole thing this way. I recall it just wasn't that straightforward. Anyway, the key is that you can't just restore it like other keyboards. That's kind of the key with the D-70. You have to do things like erase the memory first. And you may think, well, I've already erased the memory because I've changed the battery or something's happened to it. Yes, but you still have to go through the step of erasing the memory. In terms of can you use it as a MIDI controller, this is a really interesting question, because a lot of D-70s did actually get used as MIDI controllers, because you could split the keyboard up and you could send different instructions from different parts of the keyboard. It was kind of built into the way the D-70 worked, in order to sort of play different tones back across different parts of the keyboard. And therefore, the D-70 did actually get used by a number of people as a MIDI controller, because of that that type of functionality. Now, for me, I did actually use it in that, you know, before I got definitely before the A80 arrived, and definitely before the T1 arrived. I used to use my D-70 in that kind of fashion, and as I say, not only was this sort of ability to split tones across the keyboard, that was a great ability, but also it was a really nice 76 note keyboard, and that made you only lost an octave effectively. And the question was, did you ever play in that octave? And the answer is probably never. So a lot of people did use the D-70 as a MIDI controller. So yeah, I mean, you can use it as a MIDI controller, but what I would say is keep your eye on the channel. In the coming months, you will see ways of restoring it from SYSEX. The SYSEXs are available. I know that I had a conversation with Enders Jansen last year, because he did exactly this. He lost all his tones on his D-70 and he needed to restore it from factory. So we went through the steps together over email, and he got it back to fully working. But it did take a little bit of going backwards and forwards. Anyway, I hope that helped.